Hi guys, I hope the exam went well for you. We're going to continue on with lecture 7 and we're going to learn about solving right triangles. So basically it's going to be word problems. We're going to read the word problems, we're going to sketch our right triangles, and then we're going to solve for what we are asked for using either Pythagorean theorem, inverse trig functions, whatever is necessary to solve the problem. So what does it mean to solve a right triangle? Let's see. It means to find all the sides, so A, B, or C, and all the angles. So we can, like I said, we can use a Pythagorean theorem or inverse trig function. So if it's a right triangle, that means this is 90 degrees. So that means that angle A and angle B have to also add up to 90 degrees. That's what we mean in here. So if we're asked to solve the right triangle right here, I have that this angle is 90 degrees. This is angle A is 40. So angle B must be 50 degrees. Now to solve for the sides A and C, we either look at angle A or at angle B. So let's look at angle A. So let's see what is tangent of 40 degrees. Tangent of 40 degrees is the opposite to the 40 degrees, which is A, over adjacent, which is 2. Okay, so this gives us that A, if I solve for A in here, A equals 2 times tangent of 40 degrees. I don't know what tangent of 40 degrees is, so you would leave it like this. Or you could use your calculator and see what that exactly is. So actually, let's do that. So if you put a calculator, you'll notice that you have a tangent. You turn it on first, and then tangent of 40 degrees is this. Let me make sure that I am in the right mode. I am in the mode of radians, so I need to switch to degrees. So I switch to degrees, and now I go back to calculating tangent of 40 degrees. It's 0.839, so this will be A equals tangent of 40 degrees times 2, so I'll just multiply that by 2 and I get it's 1.68. Alright, so if this was in your quiz or in the test, this will be the accepted answer. Okay, you don't need to use a calculator. And I also need something that involves C, a hypotenuse in this case. So I can do either, let's see, cosine of, let's pick cosine of 40 degrees. So the cosine of 40 degrees will be adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is 2 and hypotenuse is our C. So to solve for C, it's going to be 2 divided by cosine of 40 degrees. Again, this will be an accepted answer, but if you want to find out what's the actual value, you would put it in a calculator. What about for this one? So I know that this angle is 90. I don't know either of these angles. I know the opposite and the adjacent, or the legs. So I can find the hypotenuse using the Pythagorean theorem. So I must have that this side squared plus this side squared equals this side squared. So I must have 2 squared plus 3 squared equals C squared. This will give us 4 plus 9 equals C squared. So C must be square root of 13. So this is square root of 13. Now to find the angles A and B, basically I just need to apply it, use an inverse trig function. So A, the angle A is going to be inverse tangent, so it'll be tangent to the -1 of opposite over adjacent. opposite over adjacent, so 3/2. So A is arctan of 1.5. Again, this is a legitimate answer. You can leave your answer like this. If not, you can put it in your calculator and find out the degrees. So let's just see one example. So notice if you are using a graphing calculator, you have this tangent to the -1, so I have to press second tan, and that will give me the inverse tangent. And you just put 1.5, and you get that it's 56.31. So A is actually 56.31 degrees. Okay, but like I said, this answer is legitimate. And then for angle B, I can do B is also tangent inverse of opposite to B is 2/3. So this will be a legitimate answer. Okay, so if I have the right triangle with some values and we're asked to find the other values, we're either going to use Pythagorean theorem or inverse functions to get the answer. All right, so let's look at some word problems that we're going to have to solve. So if you have a 40-foot ladder that leans against the building, so let's say we have a building right here, BLD, and the ladder is 6 foot from the base of the building, leaning against the building. So this will be the ladder. Okay, this is the ladder, and it's 40 feet, and it leans 6 feet away from the building, so that means that this is 6 feet. Okay, and we are asked what is the angle formed by the ladder and the building. Well, this is the ladder and this is the building, so we're asked what is this angle right there. So let's call this alpha. So this is what we are asked. All right, so we have translated our word problem into a triangle, right triangle. So now, well, I need to know what alpha is. I know what the opposite sides of alpha is and what the hypotenuse is. So pick a trig function that involves opposite and hypotenuse, and then apply that inverse trig function. So that trig function that involves opposite over hypotenuse is sine, right? So sine of alpha equals this. So then if I apply the inverse sine, I'm going to get that alpha is arc sine or inverse sine of the opposite over hypotenuse. So alpha equals arc sine of opposite is 6 and hypotenuse is 40. We can reduce by 2, so alpha is arc sine of 3/20. So this will be the final answer that you would pick. All right, so translate your word problem into a right triangle problem and then solve it using inverse functions. All right, one more. A woman standing on a hill, it's right here, sees a flagpole that she knows is 60 feet tall. So I know that from here to here I have 60 feet. The angle of depression to the bottom of the pole is 14 degrees. So this, she's looking down. So this is the angle of depression. And then the angle of elevation to the top of the pole is 18. So looking up, the angle of elevation is 18 degrees. The question is, find her distance x to the pole. So I'm asked to find what is this distance x to the pole. So x equals what? Okay, so notice in here that we have two right triangles. So let's see what information we can get from each right triangle. So the first thing that we need to, let's look at this one, the top right triangle. So I have an angle 18. I need to find the adjacent, but I don't have anything else, right? So is there something else that was given to us that we didn't use? Yes, the fact that this side right here plus this side right here add up to 60 feet. So let's split these two sides into something. So let's call this one A and this one B. So I know that A plus B is 60, right? So now if I look at the top triangle, I basically have the angle of elevation, which is 18 degrees. I have that this distance is X and this is A. Okay, so let's solve for A from that triangle. Okay, so I need to solve for A. So I need to think of a trig function that uses opposite and adjacent. So it's tangent. So I have tangent of 18 degrees equals opposite, which is A, over hypotenuse, which is X. So I'm solving for A. So that means that A equals, I cross multiply, A times 1 equals X times tangent of 18 degrees. Okay, now let's look at the bottom triangle. From the bottom triangle, I can solve for B now. The reason I'm doing this is because I have that A plus B equals 60. So if I solve for A and I solve for B in terms of X, then when I add them to get 60, I'll be able to find X, which is what I need to find to solve the problem. All right, so looking at the bottom triangle now, I have X, which is the adjacent, and I'm looking for B, which is the opposite to the angle 14 degrees. So again, I'm going to use tangent of 14 degrees now. Tangent of 14 degrees equals opposite, which is B, over adjacent, which is X. So now B equals X times tangent of 14 degrees. So now this is what I'm going to use. Instead of A, I'm going to put X tangent of 18, and instead of B, I'm going to put X tangent of 14, and they have to add up to 60 degrees. So what I'm going to get now is that, so instead of A plus B equals 60, I'm going to have X tangent of 18 degrees, that's for A, plus instead of B, I'm going to write X tangent of 14 degrees equals 60. So you see now that I can factor out an X. So X tangent of 18 degrees plus tangent of 14 degrees equals 60. And we're solving for X, so I'm going to divide both sides by tangent of 18 degrees plus tangent of 14 degrees. So finally, X is going to be equal to 60 over tangent of 18 plus tangent of 14 degrees. So this is the answer. I know it doesn't look like it's a distance, but if this was a quiz or a exam, this is what you would pick from the multiple choice, or this is what you would leave as your final answer. If this was in the homework and you were at home and you had access to a calculator, you would plug it in your calculator. So the main thing is to make sure that you are in degrees. So if you look at mode, well, I know that I'm in degrees, but if you, and then just go and put it in the calculator. So 60 divided by parentheses tangent of 18 plus tangent of 14. So I close. So that would give me that X is 105. Let's say X is 104.48 feet. Right? Because the pole was measured in feet, so that's how we know we are working with feet.